Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber, and thanks for joining us. Our coverage starts with, you guessed it, you know where we're going. The Doomsday cult mom murder trial today marked day 4 of this trial against the 49-year-old Idaho mother, charged with conspiracy and first-degree murder. The victims are her own children, 7-year-old J.J. Vallow, 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. There is a third victim in this case. It includes her husband's first wife, 49-year-old Tammy Daybell. Lori's current husband, Chad Daybell, faces similar charges. He's going to be tried at a separate hearing, a separate trial later on. So here with us to break down a little bit more about what has happened yesterday in court and what we can expect today, we have with us Law and Crime's Gigi McIvey, who is outside of the Ada County Courthouse in Idaho. Gigi has been our eyes, our ears. I encourage everyone to go follow Gigi on Twitter for these live updates. Gigi, your reporting has been outstanding, and it is great to see you once again. Good morning.
Good morning, Jesse.
So let's talk about what happened yesterday. Trial kind of went to a little bit of a standstill, unexpected. Walk us through what happened yesterday.
Well, we got an announcement in the morning that we may have to adjust the court schedule a bit. There was a death in one of the lead prosecutor's families, so we were let out just after 10:30 yesterday morning. Court will be normal the rest of the week. However, Monday there is no court to accommodate that schedule for the prosecutor. I'm assuming maybe the funeral's on Monday, so everybody understood that these things happen, and our hearts go out to her.
Yeah, that's a sad update right there. Now, let's talk about what the jury actually did see in here before court was recessed early. What did they see yesterday?
Well, we had a few witnesses on the stand. Detective Ray Hermosillo from the Rexburg Police Department finished up on cross-exam. There really wasn't a whole lot in there. The defense was essentially asking why they got the search warrant at the townhomes, and Detective Hermosillo said, well, she lied. Melanie Gibb did not have JJ. They had a missing kid. It really wasn't, it's almost like they don't have anything to go on. They're working with very few strong pieces in their corner. And then the next witness introduced that phone call that Chad made to Lori as the search on his property was going on. He was in his car looking over his shoulder in the direction of where JJ's body was. They played that whole phone call for the jury, which you could tell they were digesting that, looking at Lori, because a couple of times Chad says to Lori they're searching the property, which we know that's where the kids were found. And she said, are they seizing stuff and are they in the house? No, they're on the property. So he was trying to tell her without telling her they're on to where these kids are. And then the last witness walked us through Tammy Daybell being exhumed. He was present for that. And so we were shown a progression of photos from just the bulldozer right beside the grave before any ground had been broken, all the way up to where they showed us a picture of her on the autopsy table after she had been removed and was ready for the autopsy. That was very powerful for the jury. I believe it introduces Tammy. That in openings they showed this photo, but at the same time you're seeing a third victim that we're here for, and I think it was very impactful on the jury.
So let's talk about something you just mentioned. I mean, how much is there any room for Lori Vallow Daybell's attorneys to say that she didn't know what was going on? Because based on that exchange, if let's say she was not involved in this whatsoever, and her saying things like, are they seizing anything, is there any room for her to say plausible deniability? I think right now, from what we're hearing, if this was the case of Chad Daybell, the evidence is pretty strong against him, correct? But against Lori Vallow Daybell, which is what this trial is about, what has been the strongest evidence to suggest she cannot just say she wasn't a part of it, that there's really something tying her to the murders of these 3 individuals?
I think that testimony is going to come later for this jury, because you have a recorded phone conversation between Lori and Melanie Gibb, who was in this group and kind of her best friend in this group, where Lori says Alex doesn't know where JJ is and that she knew where JJ is and he was safe and happy. So I think things like that phone conversation are going to trump little comments like, are they seizing stuff? Are they in the house? Yeah. So I think there's more testimony to come. And also Melanie Gibb, Zulema, members of this group, Melanie Pulowski, who's her niece, all are set to testify to debunk her alibi, essentially, as well as Google and Apple data. So it seems like they may be able to debunk this alibi that she has submitted to the court.
And remember, prosecution's case kind of has layers. First, they have to establish the killings, that these children were killed, that they were murdered, and then maybe going into the idea of how Lori's connected to this. Speaking of Lori, is there anybody in that courtroom on her side coming in every day to support her?
Not a single person, Jesse. There's a strong showing by the Vallow family. Several of Charles Vallow's siblings are here, his adult sons, one of his ex-wives, the grandparents, Kate and Larry Woodcock. JJ's Aunt Crescia is here, but not a single person so far has been seen for Lori.
Let's talk about that for a second. So we know that Lori Vallow Daybell is charged separately in Arizona with conspiracy to commit murder of Charles Vallow, her former husband, who was shot to death by her deceased brother, Alex Cox. Originally, they thought it was self-defense. Clearly, that looks like it's something more. How much is Charles Vallow's death coming into this trial?
So far, not at all. And I think that if they don't bring that in, I'm not sure if that was ruled upon, to be honest, but if they don't bring that in, things get very confusing. It plays into these murders. That was the murder that set everything off into hyperspeed. If you look at the dates lined up after Charles's murder, everything went so fast. Now, if they bring that in, I think it will be full circle, and they'll see this as a pattern. That both the spouses end up dead mysteriously, and then the kids are gone, and Alex Cox drops over dead. So if they don't bring it in, though, they're going to have to get creative in how they answer for how Charles Vallow died and why he's not here and why, what happened to him.
What do we expect
today?
But
so far, nothing about the shooting.
Nothing. Well, let me two things about that. I was going to ask you about today, but also Kay Woodcock, wasn't their son mentioned that Charles died? The jury knows that he died, right? Or am I wrong?
No, the jury knows that Charles Vallow died. They've mentioned that he was dead. They just have not gone into detail.
Okay.
When Kay Woodcock was on the stand, they asked her, where is your brother? And she said he's dead.
Yeah.
So the jury does know that JJ's father is dead. They just have not been told how at this point.
Gotcha. Okay, and so what's on the agenda today? Who do we think is going to be called?
I kind of theorize that maybe some more investigators, FBI. That seems like where we're going with this, is them setting up the search for the kids and then finding the bodies. So I'm curious to see who's up. I think maybe today or tomorrow the pathologist, because we've gotten to the point where the bodies are found. And then next week, I'm hoping maybe we get into more of the group. Melanie Gibbs, Zulema, Melanie Pulowski, these people that were active within this group and actively casting out spirits with Lori, people who were there and heard her private conversations. But for this week, I think maybe we finish out the week with people who investigated this case.
And one of the interesting things is the charges for Lori Vallow Daybell are conspiracy to commit murder and grand theft. They are tying the financial motive a lot to the actual killings and the conspiracy to kill, and I think that's so fascinating. The religious connotations are huge. They're throughout the whole trial, but it's the financial motivations. We can't forget what the prosecutor said in those opening statements. It was sex, power, and money that were the driving forces here, so it's interesting to see that narrative. Gigi, your reporting has been excellent. Thank you so much. I know you have to head in there right now to get a good spot, but really, I know we're going to get back to you, I think, later on in the day for more updates, but Gigi, once again, thank you.
Thanks, Jesse.